in a second.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, okay, great.
And we should perhaps all mute.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah. So how does this work?
Talk,
You ask, pardon me?
talk.
You ask me the questions and then they're able to ask questions as well and stuff
Well, it
like
can
that?
be everything. We can make Joseph the interviewer or Harriet,
Oh,
but I'll start with, what was your path into this? What's your background? How did you become this joyous, loving creator of dance and shaper of people?
okay, well, that's a good place to start. First off, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and showing up for this. When Barbara asked me to do this a couple of months ago, of course I agreed. I love her with all my heart, and to know that I was going to have these other folks on there, who I think I know everybody. I have seen you all except Penelope
Don't know Mari.
and Mari, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, then welcome to my world. All right. And not to mention Harriet Ross, who has known me since I was 15 years old. So yeah, so it's a very long time, and she's been a mentor of mine, a teacher of mine. Uh, she associate artistic director of Joseph Holmes Chicago Dance Theater with me, and now she is also my manager and works with the kids at the school as well. She coaches them. She was there yesterday. She loses herself when she comes into that school, and all of a sudden, you see her dancing, showing these kids what to do, which is absolutely amazing. And I peeped in yesterday while she was coaching one of the kids. I'll get back to my beginning, but I just want to give you this real quick. And I saw her doing this pretzel down to the floor, showing the kids how to do that. I was like, oh my God. And I mean, just the understanding and the physicality at this age that she is right now is just incredible. And I think it's one of the things that keeps her moving that way, because she does enjoy working with them. So I'm going to go to the beginning of where I grew up, because I know that many of you guys hear the kinds of impoverished communities, whether it's Lawndale or Inglewood or Austin, within pockets of those neighborhoods. And I grew up first off in the Lawndale neighborhood, and it was all Black. There was not a white person around. The only time you saw a white person is when you went to school, and those were your teachers. It was not there were no white students there at all. And so this is over on by Garfield Park, if you guys are familiar with Garfield Park. Yeah. And the school that I first started at was Leif Erikson. Um, and I remember way back growing up and being attracted to the musicals that came on television. Bozo Circus. I don't know how many of you know that story, but I'll plug into that in a second. But and always pretty things. I loved watching the contestants, the on the beauty contestant shows. I just absolutely love that. I would not miss Miss America, Miss Universe, Miss Continental. I mean, I would just watch all of these because I loved seeing the pretty things. I loved hearing beautiful music. I love watching the women dance and so forth. Uh, but basically, it was watching television and seeing, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers and Shirley Temple and um, the many shows that would come on PBS at the time, Channel 11, and I would get as much as I could in terms of watching those things. And Bozo Circus would come on every day, and I would run home from school um, for lunch because you only we had an hour for lunch at the time. This was in the 60s, right? Yeah. Um, and I wouldn't miss a day of Bozo Circus because I wanted to see the acrobats if there were acrobats during that time. So acrobats would come on. After that, I'd go outside and I'd try to do the stuff that they did on concrete because we didn't have any kind of safety stuff back in those days. Or go to the park over there in Garfield Park and try some of the tricks. And I would do this every day. And then I would watch Lilius Yoga and You. I don't know how many of you guys know that, but I watched Lilius Yoga and You so I could learn how to split and get my stretch on. I didn't know anything about, training or nothing like that. I'm just this little kid who enjoyed watching people move and watching people dance and love hearing the music and all that. Go to church every Sunday, so I was also a singer, and so I would use that, basically getting my voice and stuff together. Um, but as a whole, I really enjoyed dance. I really enjoyed dance, and West Side Story had come on. This was when I was in 8th grade, and that just hooked me. I mean, like nothing else did. It was my first time being able to see guys dressed up in regular street clothes, jumping around, doing tours and pirouettes and all kinds of wonderful, wonderful things. And I was like, wow, I was just totally blown away, completely blown away. Um, there were no black guys in there, by the way. They were all either Puerto Rican or they were white guys, which it didn't bother me. I just knew that we did not have any of them in my neighborhood. So yeah, and it was like, so what do you do when you like all this stuff, and where do you go? And there's no dance studios in your neighborhood. The thing that was in my neighborhood were gangs. We were really lucky growing up and being able to get out of there without getting shot up. We had the Vice Lords around there. Who else was there? There were several different gang members, and they'd come around and they'd shoot each other. And we we would go in the house, and this is also during the time where you didn't have your parents around you. You were just outdoors and you could walk to school. That's what you did all by yourself. 5, 6, 7 years old, you walked to school. It was maybe a mile away and you just walked and you walked back, and it seemed nobody would harm you. Not at that time anyway. But when the shooting would go on in the evenings or certainly on the weekends, and we could hear them distinctly, we just go in the house and just go and stay in. And then the next day comes out and, it's all over again. But it had become a norm, is what that was. Um, so my family finally moved out of the Lawndale neighborhood and moved to the south side of Chicago in the not Edgewater, but the Inglewood neighborhood. And you hear a lot about Inglewood right now, but that's where they were. I was fortunate that my grandparents raised me, even though we lived right down the street from my mom. I mean, like half a block from my mom and my uh, six other siblings. So it was really uh, wonderful to be like the only child being raised by my grandparents. And my grandparents, they only took me because my mother was having so many kids. And she and father wasn't around. So my mom was basically raising these kids by herself, but she, of course, had help with the grandmother and her sisters and all. But I was like the one that was chosen to go and live with my grandparents, and um, they allowed me to do whatever I want to be, and not that they spoiled me. I'm not going to say that, but they did allow me to be whoever I wanted to be. I did not have to say too much about, can I do this? Can I do that? Uh, they were happy to let me go because I was a very good child, as it were. My grandparents always wanted to take me down south, which is where they were from. Um, and I didn't want to go because I didn't like the long drive in the car with them back in that time, and smelling cow manure and everything when they would go to visit visit our relatives. And besides, it was so slow down south, so slow. People were so slow, and I wanted to be back home in Chicago, uh, playing double dutch with my sister and cousins, and throwing balls and turning flips on the grass and watching Bozo Circus. So that is that my early childhood, as far as that's concerned. But once I'm gonna go back to West Side Story. Once I saw that, um, it really turned me on. And there was an audition for an all-city high school production of West Side Story. I didn't even know what an audition was, to be quite honest. I was like, okay, well, what's that? So I called down and I asked um, what what was required for the audition, and told them that I was only in eighth grade. I knew it was for high school kids from all over the city, but I wanted to come and audition anyway. And they said, okay, come on down. This will be the first time this has happened. So I did that. Um, and I went in and knowing that they were looking for acrobats, and my little old eighth grade self in the audience, because everybody was sitting there, and this was in a theater, there, Jones Commercial High School, like about 1,000 people sitting there, waiting for their turns to go up, and we were called in groups. So I went up and I did my little routine with that the choreographer had asked of us. And then we went to sit back down. There were about 10 boys and went to sit back down in each group. And I didn't feel that I had done so well. So I raised my hand and I said, I thought you guys were looking for acrobats. And they said, can you do any acrobatics? And I looked around and I said, well, yeah. And so I went they said, come on up on the stage and show us in front of all these people. I had never, ever done this before. And I went up there and I did my Bozo Circus back backflips and cartwheels and splits from Lilia's Yoga and You. And the next thing you know, I'm a shark. They they cast me as a shark. So that was the very beginning of my life as a dancer, which had really changed. From that day forward, the choreographer, she asked me if I would like to come to the school where she taught, which is Sammy Dyer School of Theater, on again on the South Side. And I said okay, and it was a scholarship, um, free of charge. She just wanted me there because I was a guy, number one, and there were a lot of guys that were not necessarily into the ballet and the jazz and the contemporary. At that school, most of the guys were into the tap, which was phenomenal. The only thing I did not take at Sammy Dyer was tap, and that's what they were really, really known for. I wanted to do the ballet. I wanted to do the pretty stuff. I wanted to do the jazz. So I was taking those classes and acrobatics. They were teaching acrobatics. And so I learned how to do them properly. And before you know it, I was teaching some of the acrobatic classes because I caught on pretty fast. And when the teacher was out, I was called to substitute. And so I did that. And I didn't even know I had the gift to do that, but I went ahead and did it. It kind of just came naturally, it seemed. So that was my first time with that. And with that group, Sammy Dyer, I did The Return of Peter Pan at uh, the Airy Crown Theater. Uh, so yeah, that's when they were having lots of shows out there. So that was my first big, uh, besides West Side Story, that was my next big show that I had done. And then each year after that, the All City High School theatrical troupe were doing shows. My next one was a Carousel, um, and then Hello Dolly I did, and Guys and Dolls. So all of these things, they just came, and each year I didn't even have to audition because they basically said, "Well, we know that you're gonna do this." So I played Ambrose Kemper actually in Hello Dolly. Gave me a part, which is great. But uh, all those things led me to Joseph Holmes. And at age 15, this is when I met Harriet. Um, Joseph, I met him through a drummer, and he asked me to come over way on the South Side to take class with the company that he had started. It was like in 1974. And I said, "Oh, okay, I'll come." I just love going around, being in studios, just want to dance. And I was getting free classes. I've never had to pay for a class. They've always had me come and as a scholarship person. So that I did. I joined the company, Joseph Holmes, age 15. I was there and stayed with that company for what, 19 years, I think. And the last 7 of the 19 years that I was there became the artistic director of the company. Um, but as Harry could tell you, while I was there as a dancer, I would learn everybody's part uh, because I just loved to dance. So I learned the girls' part as well as the boys' part, of course. Learned the rhythms, learned the music that Joseph used because it wasn't uh, always just the spirituals that he did, but he did like the Rite of Spring, and just I love that music, and I think you guys are familiar with that one, right? And just really, yeah, I didn't have any background in that stuff, but I always loved classical music. I love contemporary music. It didn't matter, but that kind of fed my soul as I continued to grow as an artist. And that's really how things began from way back then, and it just continued on from Joseph Holmes. There were times that I was choreographing for beauty pageants, believe it or not, Miss Black America, all other kinds of things, even for drag shows. I was involved in both as a dancer and also as a choreographer. Uh, Harriet got me my first jazz singing job in Highland Park at Carol Walker's studio back when I was 17, I think I was. Um, and I learned then how to deal with kids who uh, who came from really very wealthy families, and they were no different than the kids who were from the west side of Chicago or the south side of Chicago. They're all when they're brats. So it 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 was really funny to go out there and see these children who seem to be more interested in their outfits in their leotards than they were in actual dance. It was kind of a social thing for them. And I said, no, 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 we don't do that here. If you're going to be here to dance, and we dance. Um, the studio got a few phone calls from some of the parents. Well, what do you mean, Sally was talking and so forth? Now, this is during the time when we had record players, where you put the album. Was There was no, no tape recording, no any of that. This was all LPs. And I turned around and I put the needle down on on the record, and I hear this talking, and and I can see in the mirror who was doing it. And I took it back off, and I said, there's no talking, girls. You've got at that time it was like an all girls event, and I would turn around and I put the needle back on again, and there was still talking. And I took it off and I said, no, we don't do that. And then I saw who it was, and I said, you, and you out. So I threw them out. This is in Highland Park. Threw those girls out of class. I said, and don't come back until you learn how to keep your mouth shut when we're having class. Oh my God! Of course, the Carol Walker is getting phone calls from the parents, and that Randy is throwing my kids, and I know that my kid wasn't talking. I was like, how do you know you weren't even there? I saw them, and they want to take care of their kids even though they can't see. And so anyway, before you know it, everybody wanted to come to class. They all wanted, because I threw those people out, and they said he really means business. And if that is the case, I really want to go and learn. So when they would have the kids come in to register, uh, the class would close so fast because so many of those kids wanted to be there, and they knew why they wanted to be there. And there was a couple of girls who came back like a year or so later because they were scared, but came back. They apologized and said, I am so sorry, I was so wrong, and I promise to be a good student. And that's how that's I mean, it really, really started out there in Highland Park. So I learned how to deal with those divas who really thought that it was all about them and less about their dance. And I said, and if you really want to learn something, then this is the way we have to handle this. And you may not use this as social hour, which is what some of them wanted to do. But you understand, they're teenagers. So that has, of course, carried through my life in terms of teaching. Um, Even when I'm working with professionals, it's the same thing. Professional dancers or professional actors are the ones that I really get into. I mean, I love working with them because they don't want to be wrong. They really want to look good. So they say, Randy, I'll miss my vocal coaching at this time if I can work with you. So this is when I'm working with these professional actors that some you've seen on television and movies and so forth, but they are really interested in getting it. And before you know it, people really think that they have had long time training. Um, so this is carried on through my life as far as a teacher is concerned. So that's the beginning of it all. Any questions about anything?
How did you come to the academy?
How did I come to the academy? Um, Anna Paskevska, who was the chair of the dance department for many, many years, she was also a ballet master.
Let me jump in. This is the Chicago Academy for the Arts on Chicago Avenue, and it is a pre-professional school and you have to audition to become a student, and its academics are as high as its professional training.
Thank you, Barbara. And it's a private school as well, for those of you who don't know.
Got that.
Yeah, yeah, because the other one is a public
It's
school.
not.
Right. That's much younger. Um, so Anna Paskevska, she was our ballet ballet mistress at Joseph Holmes for a few years. And she left and went became the chair of the dance department at Chicago Academy for the Arts. When I left Joseph Holmes, she had asked me if I would come over to teach there, to take over classes that they needed a modern teacher, and I was available at the time. Uh, so I said, sure, I would come over and do that, which I did. Another again, here is where you have all these teenagers, and I'd heard, believe it or not, that they were running over the teachers who were teaching there before I came. I mean, uh, every modern teacher, they came and said, "Watch out for those kids. Watch out for those kids. Watch out." And I was like, "Wait a second. These are kids we're talking about. I mean, they shouldn't be running a class. Aren't you the teacher? Aren't you supposed to be doing that?" So when I went over there, I found out, and there were seniors in my class in the beginning who had already gone through 3 years, and now they're in their fourth year. But I'm coming over now. They had heard of my name, they've heard about me, but they didn't really know me. Um, so that training from Highland Park, the same kind of discipline I had to instill in these kids here. And so they all learned, oh, you can say this in so and so's class, but not in his class. He does not play. Uh, so I had gotten a reputation there as well, even to the point of helping Anna Paskevska out when kids would say that. I mean, she was this Russian woman, and all the black girls, I kid you not, all the black girls would say that she was prejudiced. And that was so untrue. She just really wanted them to work to be as good as their white counterparts that were there at the school. So she had to put up with that. And once I went into a meeting with her and with parents and said, no, 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 this is not about Anna. This is about your kid who's not working as hard as they actually should. And that kind of shut them all up. And then life went on. But that's how I began at the academy. Uh, and Unfortunately, Anna passed away. They had asked me if I would take over the chairmanship or the chair of the department. And I had a heavy talk with Harriet. I had a heavy talk with David Kipper. And I, uh, it was because of David that I decided to go ahead and take the chair because I really didn't want it. I honestly did not want that because I didn't want the headache with all the meetings and the parents and all of this. I just wanted to go teach my class and go. But because I really wanted that school to remain a very high quality school and really work so those kids can become artists, um, I decided to take the job after having my conversations
What did
with
David
both David.
say? Randy, I've never asked you. What did he say
David
that
said,
influenced?
yeah, David said to me, he said, "Well, do you like what's happening over there already? I mean, do you like the fact that these kids that come in there, they're auditioning to get in there, and the high quality that the school has, and the reputation that it has. And I said, well, yeah, of course I do. That's why I'm over there. And he said, well, do you see anybody else in his accent that could run the program as effectively as you? More than like, because I was interim chair, and I said, well, there's nobody around at the moment that I can see that. And he said, well, I think you should take it. And I said, I said, oh, okay, all right, I'll do that. And I'd already talked to Harriet about it before, but David just told me, yeah, you should absolutely take it. So I said, well, if he says that, and I know that Harriet believes in him too, that then I should probably do it. So I did, and I'm glad that I did. I really, really am. The kids are marvelous. The parents are easy to deal with once you train them how to take care of their kids without spoiling them. Uh, because these kids, they will leave point shoes around and then tell their parents, um, somebody stole my point shoe. And I'd laugh because they said, nobody wants your stinking shoes, you know, especially if they're point shoes where they need to be fitted properly. And they had left them in the windowsill or something. But parents, next day, they've got new point shoes, you know, just like if they lose their phone, uh, they tell their parents, there's a phone the next day, you know. It did not, those kids, I was like, oh my God. I said, parents, you are spoiling them. You should not do that. That's why they don't do their work at home. When you ask them to do something, they don't do it. Yet at the school, if I ask who would like to wash the mirrors at school, everybody raise their hand. They all want to please me. uh, Mop the floor, sweep the floor, all of those things. They are, I mean, immediately hands go up. I'll do it. I'll do it. Um, and I don't give them uh, high praise unless I really, really mean it. So they have to really work. They have to work very,
I
very
mean,
hard, very
Harriet can
diligently.
speak to this more effectively than I, but whenever I have been around the academy, the kids want to please Randy, and the way you please Randy is by being your best self. And it's amazing to watch these young people be shaped from freshman year to senior year, where they're as good, and as far as I'm concerned, better than many professionals. So tell about the icon program.
Oh, the icon. Ah, and it's too bad that we missed that this past year with
You'll do
the
it next
one.
year. But tell
Yeah, yeah.
why it's so important that the choreographers allow these young people to dance their works.
Well, this is very interesting. Icon program is or concert is their dances that or choreography, I should say, that were done by masters of the past, such as Martha Graham, Alvin Ailey, Paul Taylor, uh, these individuals who you've heard of, many of you've heard before, and their works. And the only way that they would allow a high school group to do this work, or even colleges and certainly professional companies, is if they know that they've got the talent there to actually execute the movement. And so we've had to send out video to the various places, and they said, "Okay, all right, we'll have our repetitor come in and work with your kids." And they, do fascinating jobs because the kids really, really want it very, very badly. And like last year, we had Martha Graham, Alvin Ailey, and there was one more besides.
Arpino.
Oh, Gerald Arpino, thank you. Gerald Arpino for for the ballet. Yes, and that is the plan to continue this. Uh, i- we're trying to work around this whole COVID thing, uh, and we'll see when we can touch each other because we haven't been able to do that yet. We've just been training the kids solo like. So people can be in the room, we can do ensemble stuff, but in terms of touching each other right now, we're not doing that. We are wearing masks as we train them, and they're wearing masks the whole
The
time. So
first,
they're long term.
the first icon program, at the end of it, Erwin Ross looked at me and he says, "You're never going to see a program like that in any professional company because they don't put those three choreographers together." And it was danced spectacularly. Of course, I was crying the whole time.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we love being able to do that, to bring back some classics like that, and have high school kids do it, and everybody that comes to the concerts. And I think some of you guys have come out. Um, they they're always saying that this looks like a professional company. These cannot be high school students. That's what I hear all the time. These cannot be high school students moving the way that they do. But it is really because of the kind of training that they get there at the school. Um, and then Harriet actually coming in and coaching the kids as well, because she tries to watch her language, but because
They
when
know
she's
all
working with
those words.
yeah, when she's working with the professional dancers, she can use those words and not feel guilty about it. But when she's working with the kids, she checks herself and find another way of
Sometimes I
getting.
fail.
You say what?
I fail very often.
But
But I
it
deal with
is,
them, they don't tell you.
All
but
right.
it is fascinating being in the studio, watching Harriet craft and refine already very fine dancers. It's like a chisel. It's just refining it,
Yeah.
just letting them know if you did that. And the kids are so eager to learn that it's a joy
yeah.
to be. And when all of the COVID's over, all of you must come to the academy.
Absolutely. If you haven't been there, you should definitely come out and I mean, you're welcome to come out and watch for sure. Um,
But you've left
so,
out, you
What,
haven't,
what did
Harriet?
I leave out?
I said he's left out a big chunk of his life,
I'm
and that
sure.
is the choreographer. And without that, we don't get a real picture of Randy. So
Well, we're going over to that. So
would you talk about your choreography, please?
Yeah, yeah. How did I become, uh, first off, the choreographer? Um, I didn't know that I was actually going to be a choreographer. I just know that when I was teaching, from the very beginning, that at first I would write all my notes and things down for the class that I was about to teach, but I didn't really want the kids to know that I was looking at notes. So I'd write them down and then I kind of leave them by the record player at the time. And I would teach the class without the notes, and some of the things that I had put on the notes weren't things that I was actually teaching at the time, the exercise I would teach at the time, but it would just come to me um, just so easily. It's like water out of a faucet. Stuff would just come into my head, and I knew what the patterns would be and so forth, and I was able to put that on the kids without, you know, again, without looking at those notes. And finally, notes went away, period, and could just go in and teach a class um, and feel real comfortable with knowing that things were going to happen. Uh, I knew what the succession was, and I was able to just go ahead and put it in like right away. Didn't even have to think about it much. It would just come. And then Joseph Holmes gave me an opportunity uh, to choreograph this piece for this was Aretha, and he said, "Randy, would you mind?" Because he had seen me teach and so forth, and I would substitute for him at times as well, especially in the jazz class. And I said, "Sure, I'd be happy to co-choreograph Aretha, the Aretha Franklin suite of dances that we did, which was one of our most popular um, dance pieces from way back. So much so that when we went to Israel, people were, I mean, rushing the stage like we were rock stars afterwards. It was quite amazing. Then they'd ask us to go out, and any place where the dancers were going, they would say on the radio, the Joseph Holmes Chicago Dance Theater will be at so and so. And everybody would go over there. We'd come in and they'd be playing Aretha Franklin songs. That's was one of the most significant times of our lives being in Israel and being treated in such a way. I mean, really like rock stars. I am not joking. And it's just dance company, you know. But but anyway, so I found myself thinking about stories, making things up, watching people, watching animals, looking at the sky, looking at trees. All of these things come into play when it comes to me choreographing. Situations that people will have, relationships, whether it's between mother and father, or mother and a daughter, or son, or uh, a person and their pet. Um, these kinds of things really make a difference in my choreography. Those are the kinds of things that I look at and understand. Yeah, thanks, Joseph. Um, and that is really how I to come about making movement. Um, Sometimes a piece of music can really inspire me to do something, and sometimes, again, just a situation uh, that I see or have been involved in could do it for me as well, could inspire me. And then I have the music written. Thank God I have good friends who are composers that write music for me. So it it really is about what is around me, and what I see as an individual that really inspires me to work and to choreograph. I know, again, Harry was working with one of the dancers yesterday. I choreographed a piece 20 years ago, I think it is, called Shaniqua's World.
It's not
Um,
old, is it?
oh yeah, it's that old.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I guess I don't realize how old things get.
It- yeah, yeah.
It's
But
just
it
marvelous work. It's a marvelous work.
yeah, well, thank you. And you guys will see it at some point, but it's a solo, and it's actually based on the novel Beloved. did you guys, the Toni Morrison book and the movie, and I saw that, and I saw that woman who came out of the swamp, um, and was just covered with mud and all of that, and she became this, I don't know, witch-like creature with the man getting involved in between him and his wife. uh, but this here is based on a girl who basically raised herself, and she really didn't have anybody around, and um, she has to become an adult. She has to go through certain things that, under normal circumstances, if you have parents to help you out, it's not a big deal. But this girl had no one. She was an orphan from the very beginning, and just didn't have anybody. She's raising herself, you know. And just imagine someone who's out in the fields, um, in some shack or something, that's completely without real language, but noticing and observing everything around her, whether it's the flowers that are growing, the wildflowers that are growing, whether it's the birds that are flying, whether she sees other people from a distance and trying to mock them or whatever to get herself together. And the, the costume is such that she didn't know how to put stuff together, so she put everything together in her costume. So it's like she wears everything. It's not just one pretty little dress or one ugly little dress, but it's a lot of stuff on her, and to the point of her hair, all of that stuff is involved in this. But it's a wonderful piece. But it's that kind of situation that I'm saying that inspires me to see someone, or to at least conjure up someone in my head like that. Um, so yeah, that's how that works. Did
Harriet,
that answer the question?
Well, no, it's
Uh-huh.
incomplete. It's incomplete. Um, for
Uh,
instance, um, when Arpino saw his work, the Joffrey was still in New York. It was a New York company. When Arpino saw his work, he immediately wanted to have one of Randy's works on his company. But more than that, he said, I'm going to take you under my wing because you are so special. And Randy has 6 works in the Joffrey in repertory. So
mhm.
Randy also choreographs for theater. Probably some of his greatest abilities are choreography for the theater. He has a regular gig at Yale School of Drama, where when they bring in their professional companies to do theater, Randy is usually called upon to do the choreography and to train the actors. And so, yeah, you didn't bring any of that up, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, you guys also have to understand, you can ask me these questions, uh, but I am pretty humble when it comes to when it comes to talking about me. You know, I can talk about all other kinds of people, but when it comes to me, particularly those kinds of things, yeah, I've choreographed for the Goodman Theater. I've choreographed for Yale. I choreographed for Studio One. I've choreographed for Washington Shakespeare. I've choreographed for Shakespeare
Oregon
in
Shakespeare.
yeah, Ashland, Oregon. I've choreographed for the opera, uh,
In
Seattle.
San Diego. Didn't you do
No,
San
Seattle.
Diego? Oh, Seattle.
It was in Seattle.
do we have some videos that I could distribute to the group, so those who have not seen your superb life enhancing work can have some feeling of it 2-dimensionally?
That would be
Oh,
wonderful because, as you may not be surprised to learn, I have been Googling away while listening to you, looking for YouTube performances of various things and coming up dry. So if there's some,
Oh, I have several on
love it.
YouTube. I do. If you go to Harriet Ross 1, HARRIET ROSS 1, you will find his work Ida, which is, I hadn't known really who Ida B. Wells was
Right.
at that time. And learning about her and watching this solo, it's a very special thing. So I will see what other works I have that are on YouTube.
yeah, and we can get them put on YouTube as well.
Yes.
I'll give them to Harriet. And yes, Barbara, we'll get that out to you because there's a lot that I have on DVD, but nothing out there in the.
Because it'll be wonderful when we can all get back in the studio and all come
Okay,
to
yes.
the academy.
Barbara Ross, your guy Ross could do that if we give him the DVDs.
Yep.
Okay, so that's easy now.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I don't see Ida, but I'm sure I'm missing it.
Well, mostly you see the Arpino ballets because I ran the Arpino Foundation. But if you follow it all the way down, you will see,
Some of the other stuff.
yeah.
Randy, talk about some of your students, because I've had the pleasure of being in class and watching them grow and become parts of professional companies.
Well, one of the students, Joey Mazzarelli, who is dancing out in Amsterdam with
Netherlands.
the
Dutch National Ballet.
Dutch National Ballet, who is doing incredibly well. He's always in the papers there.
Is that the City Larbi Charkawi group, the choreographer? Is that the same Dutch ballet company?
This is the Dutch ballet company that like Rudolph Nureyev danced with, and
It's the national company of the Netherlands.
yes, it's a ballet company. It's not the contemporary company that's there. This is the ballet company, and he's doing quite well out there. But even before Joey, there was Craig Hall, who is with New York City Ballet, and he's no longer performing with them, but he's helping to run City Ballet, and he danced with them for a very long time. We had like 4 at the Joffrey.
Randy Herrera, David Gombert, Johanna is still in the company.
Yes, Joanna Wozniak.
And
The black kid.
yeah, I know. Why did I miss his name?
Michael.
Go ahead.
It's Michael.
Right, Michael Smith.
Yeah, Michael Smith. The easiest name of all. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was the least good dancer. So
That's right. But he was a pretty good photographer.
Right. So there's that. Another and everybody wants to go to Juilliard. So every year there's auditions for Juilliard, and they only take 12 men and 12 women, nationally, all over. And each year it seems that one or two of our kids get into to Juilliard, and that's both male and female, not just the males. There are some who auditioned and then said that they'd rather go into a company instead. Joey was one of them. And who else went?
Jackson?
Jackson didn't audition.
He didn't even audition. He was going straight to Utah.
He was going straight to this company. Yeah. Yeah.
And he's a trainee there.
Yeah.
But
So there,
another interesting thing about the kids as a civilian, it's just greatly appreciated. They have been raised and trained to have good manners.
yeah. And if they didn't have good manners from home, they certainly get them at school. Because I uh, I said, if you want respect, you have to give respect. And so they do learn that at school. Because again, a number of the parents who are very hard workers, you know, these are doctors and lawyers and preachers and teachers, um, and they just don't have time for the kid. It seems that's why we send them to you so that you can take care of them, and we say that we will take care of them, and the parents are just amazed at how well their kids react and how they want to go to school every day. They do not want to miss a day. And before the whole COVID thing, uh, these kids, even if they were sick, some of them, I mean, with the fever or whatever, they would pretend that they weren't so that they could come to school. That's how much they want to be there. I know of kids who have since graduated. This one kid would put ice on his forehead, so when his mom took his temperature, that the temperature would be down. Not that that's necessarily something that makes it happen, but he wanted to be in school that badly. So he was like, I'm gonna put some ice on my forehead. And and I do not recommend that they come into school sick because they can get the other kids sick. But they would pretend so that they could be there. They love, love, love being at that school. Even now, they so wish that they could be there more often.
Describe Justin
Describe who?
Tranter.
Oh my God. Justin Tranter is this composer who graduated from Chicago Academy for the Arts. He went to the academy because he was picked on at his school in the suburbs, which is where he was from, um, and to the point of where he really did not want to go to school. Found out about the academy, even though he would have to take the train in or somebody drive him in. He found out about it, came to the academy, stayed there at the academy, loved the academy, said the academy saved his life, and he is now an award-winning composer for contemporary music. Um, but
Describe some of the artists.
yes, yes. This kid, he is um, so impressed with what had happened to him, and he can see it happening with all these kids at the academy, that he continues to stay in touch with us. And he is making the #1 songs on the pop charts, um, like day after day after day. This guy has become a very wealthy individual, and he never, never does not answer a phone call if we call him for some gal or something, and he shows up. He's crazy as all get out, as the Barbara would tell you. Lots of F bombs that he uses, but it's all so endearing, so endearing, and he has really uh, made this school. I mean, and he always puts it in his bio, and whenever you see him do interviews and all, he always says that if it wasn't for the Chicago Academy for the Arts, I don't know whether I'd be here.
And what did he do recently for the school?
Oh yeah, recently we never had a recording studio. This guy gave us money for a recording studio there at the school. And then so we had to hire a recording teacher. And it's absolutely wonderful. And of course, Barbara used the other part to uh, deal with the piano, the performing area that we have there at the studio, at the school for the music kids as well. I mean, it's quite lovely.
But
So,
who were some, Merle?
yeah.
Had to unmute. Well, as you know, I have had the great opportunity to see you teach at the school, and I've been to a couple of the spring concerts and seen the kids dance. So I know a bit about your gifts with teaching and with choreography, but somewhere in there, I haven't heard you say too much about performing, and I'm wondering, did that stop as soon as you took on the artistic directorship, or did you continue to perform?
You mean me
Yes.
as a dancer?
Yeah. Did you,
Oh,
where does
oh,
performing fit in?
oh no. When I was with Joseph Holmes, I danced with the company for, like I said, I was there for 19 years, but the last 7 of the 19 years, I did not.
I
I
know you said that, but
I took myself off stage.
so was that the end of your performing
It
career?
was, yes, Merle. Oh my God. There's just so much to do as a choreographer and as a teacher, and then as a director of the department
Is
or the chair of the department.
but somewhere deep in your heart, did you miss giving up dancing?
When I gave up dancing, I was ready to. I was ready to. I did not want to be one of those old guys up there trying to hold on to an arabesque, staying on one leg and shaking around. No, I did not want that. Yeah, yeah. So,
Also, I want to make sure, Randy,
Diane, thank you.
bye, Diane. I wanted to make sure when Joseph left, he left you a note that you need to read before you sign off. And basically, he's encouraging you to write down all of your stories.
Yeah, for the book that's going to be written, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
One hopes so.
Well, read Joseph's note. You'll see.
Yeah, I think I saw that earlier. Yeah, yeah. So, back to performing. No, I was really ready to leave the stage as a dancer when I left.
How old were you, Randy?
How old was I?
Yeah.
I was 28. Yeah.
Is
Mhm.
that young for a dancer or average?
Yeah.
I know it's so hard on the body. I just wondered how you felt about that.
No, because I had so many other things going on. I knew that you can't keep all those balls in the air like that.
Yeah.
And I felt there were other dancers in the company at the time who were better dancers than me, and they were younger coming up, and I'm like, I can I can get off now, you know. My name would still be out there now in a different way, you know, as a choreographer and as a teacher. So no, I did not miss it. I did not miss it. If anything, I would have gone back into musical theater. Now I do perform as far as vocalist is concerned. I will sing at weddings and things like that. So that I would still get up on stage for, but not for dance. It's too hard.
Was that your major? Was voice your major?
Yeah, I was a vocal music major at Illinois State University. I took some time away from Joseph Holmes
Mhm.
to after I was a senior in high school, and I went to Illinois State University under scholarship again as a vocal music major, the baritone. Even though my teacher, when I got there, he said, "I think you're actually a tenor." And I'd been studying baritone all that time. So, and I just took like a year and a half off to do that, get my feet wet there. But I kept performing. I kept coming back to Joseph Holmes and doing performances with them. And I said, if I'm going to do this, I might as well go on back and continue doing it professionally. I can always go back to school. As a matter of fact, when I went to Illinois State, they asked me uh, to teach some classes, not to get paid, but just if I would, yeah, if I wouldn't mind starting some classes up because I knew things that they really didn't know, like ramp technique and Horton and all of that. And I said, sure. You know, I was uh, always ready to go and dance. And
how did you get involved with Save the Last Dance?
oh, the movie,
The movie, but I've
Harriet.
got another question.
Yeah.
I've got another question. I want
Uh-huh.
to know how you got involved because I know there's jazzy dance as well as ballet.
Yeah.
I want to know if Julia Stiles really did her audition dance.
Oh, yeah. But Harriet first will answer that first question you asked me, and then I'll answer the other one.
Well, I was at the Joffrey. I was general manager there, so I got a lot of phone calls. And I got a call from Robert Carter, who was the director of this film. I didn't know him from Adam, and he said it was going to include an audition for Juilliard in it. And I told him how to spell Juilliard correctly. Unfortunately, I corrected him many, many times, and still when the film opened, I went, oh no, they had spelled it wrong. But he said, well, I'm bringing in a choreographer to do this. He was bringing in everybody from California. And I said, now why would you do that? Because I did get, space for the Joffrey in it, and they were performing, but they needed a teacher for classes. I said, I have a teacher for your classes. So that's where I got Anna Paskevska the job. And then they needed a studio. And I said, if I get the studios at the Academy, because the Joffrey could not afford to give any space. We needed every inch we had. So they filmed that. And I said, and you do not have to bring in a choreographer, because I have the choreographer for you.
Ah,
So there's an awful lot of people I know in that movie
yeah.
for good reason.
Oh, it's a wonderful movie. It's one of my
It
favorites.
made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was for good reason. I mean, it was brilliantly performed and very well written. And that's why I'm curious about Julia now, Randy. Did she or did she not?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, to complete the Harriet story before I get to Julia, Harriet calls me and she says, Randy, Paramount Pictures is gonna be calling you in a few minutes. And I said, what? I said, what are they calling me for? And she said, well, they needed a teacher for this girl, Julia Stiles. Of course, I didn't know who Julia Stiles was, and neither did Harriet at the time. But all the teenagers knew who she was. And I said, okay, all right. So I wait for the call. 5 minutes later, I got the call uh, from Carter, and he said, "Well, we need a choreographer this and blah blah blah." And I hear that you're the one to do this, and we needed a teacher for her, and we need a choreographer for the movie. And I said, "Well, okay." And like these film producers and things do, can you come down here tomorrow? Can you da? So I said, wait a minute. I said, I have class to teach at the academy, and then we can arrange it so that I can see you. And they agreed. So I went down, and um, I said, okay. So what do you need? And he was saying, well, we need to teach uh, Julia Stiles how to look like a ballet dancer, how to do that, and then we need you to choreograph some stuff for the movie. And I said, okay. So I said, well, the one thing that you're basically going to be filming up. So the port de bras got to be good. If you're going to do a line with an arabesque and all that stuff, we have to deal with that. And so I'm throwing all these words out there to him that, of course, he doesn't know these these terms. And he said, oh, and the fact that I was black too made it even better.
Yeah.
That, oh, there's a black guy here who can teach ballet, and he can do this stuff and he knows all the, and yeah. And
That's
so,
so perfect. That's so perfect though, because of the racial
yes,
issues of the
yes,
movie. I mean,
right, right.
I mean, your experience was so germane, I'm sure, to ultimately how well the white and the black came together on the dance floor.
Right,
Don't
right,
you think? I
exactly,
mean, it had to have something.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, so here's what happened with Julia. And for those of you who have not seen the movie yet, I suggest you see it. It's a lovely, romantic story.
I just
It's
ordered the DVD from the from the public library.
oh,
I'm
say,
first in line for the DVD, so
all
I'll
right.
see it soon. Thank you.
Okay, great, great. Um, so, uh, when they flew Julia in for me to see because I didn't know her, and they said, you know, these film people, they can do this stuff. Just money means nothing to them. So they flew her in to have me spend like an hour or two with her just to see what she looked like. And they knew they wanted to use her because her name was so big back in that time. And she really, really wanted to do it. And Julie was only 17 at the time, by the way. Um, so she came into the studio. I gave her some stuff to do. She was sweating like a pig. Uh, it was just amazing, and she was so humble. I tell you, she was so humble, and she had these caretakers there. Like she needed a bottle of water, and like 5 people would go and get her water. I was like, what? I mean, just like that, they would go and get her water. I said, okay. But she wanted this really, really badly. So I worked on things with her. I asked if she can split and other things because looking at her, I knew that there were things that I could do with her to make her look like a dancer. And there were some things that she obviously could not do, like do the point work. That ain't her.
Yeah.
Um,
She's too
yeah,
athletic.
yeah. But she had to learn the entire dance that you see, everything that you see. She had to learn it. We
Even
only
with hair?
we only filmed her in like quarters, and then we'd have her double do the entire dance, and
Oh,
then
I
we
see.
move her, and
Oh,
she would. That's right. She'd do another quarter, and then we have the dancer do the entire dance, her double. And she had 2 doubles, by the way. One was Ariane Dolan, who was one of my dancers from Joseph Holmes, used her. And then this other one, Chrissy Whitehead, who was from New York, and she was her second double. And Chrissy knew how to do all of the hip hop stuff and spins and everything. And she also did ballet. But Ariane Dolan was just a ballet dancer. She was ballet. Except when we put her, Ariane, I choreographed the balance beam scene that they do, and that's Ariane. Yeah, but but no, Julia would try and do everything. She was very good at hip hop, by the way.
she was.
Yeah, she was good when hip hop choreographer worked with her because we worked in tandem. Uh, she would do something, I would do something. She would do something, I would add on to it. This is Fatima, because they had already hired her from California. Um, and so when you get to see the chair piece, that's a combination of the both of us.
That was
That's
wonderful.
yeah. Thanks so much.
And
And all the stuff.
I also like how you integrated the classic with the club dancing.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
also love the balance of the black and the white.
that's right. And he
I,
was so dark, wasn't he?
oh, he was.
Or isn't he?
Yeah.
And she's
Oh,
so
yeah. Yeah, he is. But it was beautiful.
and
It was,
she yeah, and she is so pale skinned.
yeah.
But yeah, lovely, lovely person. And uh and Kerry Washington was also in the movie, remember?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
who-
a sister of
Okay, I've got to
Kerry
see the
Washington.
movie again. That's nice.
It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Randy?
She plays a sister. Sherry.
Who did the club dancing? Was that Julia
That.
Stiles? Was that Julia
Oh
Stiles?
yeah, you
doing
mean
the
when she
club?
was there? Oh yeah, that was Julia
Wonderful.
doing the club.
That's one of my
Yeah,
favorite movies.
Yeah.
yeah. I've heard that from like my neighbors when they
Yeah.
found out we were out digging up dirt one day, and they found out that I had done uh Save the Last Dance, and they were like, "What?" And there's one of my neighbors is a lawyer, and he comes out and he said, "You mean this scene you did?" And he started doing the chair dance. And I was like, "Oh my God." I said, "How many times have you watched that?" I said, "How many times have you watched that for you to be able to do this?" And he said, "Randy," he said, "secretly, that's like my favorite movie of all time."
Right.
And so they bring it out and they look at it, he and his wife, over and over again. But he knew the routine. Yeah, he's not
Who
even a
did
dancer.
Who did the chair dance? Is that
Who
Julia?
did the chair dance?
Mhm.
The chair dance was a combination of Julia and Chrissy Whitehead, one of her doubles.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, she did do the whole dance, but there's certain tricks, you know,
Right.
right? She could do. Yeah, yeah.
I knew-
They didn't
I
want to
knew- I
lose.
knew to get that.
They didn't want to lose her on the film. Mhm.
It was.
Right. I've seen it at least 6 times. It's just wonderful.
Oh, that's great. That is great. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, and we use a lot of Chicago people as well.
Mhm.
So that was really good. We were able to hire them, or they were able to hire them, including using the school and some of our students that were there at the time.
Yes.
There was a lot of stuff that was cut out, lot of dance that was cut out, and it's because they wanted to move the story along. They said, and but they wouldn't do anything without my approval.
Nice.
They would not do anything without. It's like they go, "Randy, can you come to the dailies?" Sure, okay. Whichever one you say we can use, we'll use, and if you don't want to use that, then we'll throw it out and put something else in. So I really
great.
learned how movies are made.
Wonderful.
Fantastic, Randy, thank you. And one of the marvelous things about Randy is in our lifetimes, we have seen brilliant performance. To see a person who has a legacy of fine teaching, which just ripples and ripples and ripples out. It's a gift, and I'm grateful I know you.
Oh gosh, thank you so much.
We all
And
are.
yeah,
Next
and I
week,
agree.
next
well,
week, it's going to
Uh-huh.
be morning because we have a speaker from India,
Ah,
Bala Kanan, and she's a jewelry historian and quite exceptional.
fantastic.
I have another question for you
Yeah. Hmm.
before you leave. Okay, so I know you're a choreographer, and I've seen some of your work at Dance Chicago or Dance for Life. But I'm just curious from so a choreographer learns from doing other uh, choreographic pieces. And I've seen that you worked with Alvin Ailey, who's one of my all-time favorites.
Hmm.
I'm wondering, out of this, this is kind of a hard question to just throw on you, but of all of the dancers that you've worked with or choreographers that you've worked with, could you identify one or two either choreographers or pieces that have been the most formative in terms of your own personal belief, conviction, style, whatever you want to call it, philosophy of dance?
That's a very, very good question, because people, they do want to know who I've looked up to, or who have been my mentors, or who style I like the best, and all of that.
Yeah.
And I will say that Alvin Ailey has been one to watch, but it wasn't Alvin Ailey. It was choreographers that worked with the Alvin Ailey company that really inspired me, inspired my work. Um, and gosh, now I'm drawing a blank as to who the one that does a stack up, and I'm blanking on his name, but he was one of the first choreographers. Who was that?
Faison was one of.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, George Faison. I loved his work. It was just so fast. And Harriet always says, Randy makes those dances, and they're like lightning. Like they go so fast, so fast, so fast. You better be ready to catch on to it. And George Faison is one of the reasons that that I work in the way that I do, because I've always loved his work. Always loved his work. Whether it's that or Sweet Otis is another one from the company. Um, but it's the Ailey company. But my classical person was Rudolph Nureyev. I have always loved that guy. Yes, I know everybody loves the little one, Baryshnikov, who I have met a few times. But Rudolph was my favorite.
Okay. Yeah,
Oma,
Yes, ma'am.
go ahead.
No, I'll wait, Michael. What was your next question? I'll wait after you.
I just read Nureyev's autobiography, and it was written while he was still kind of subjected to Russian influence, so he couldn't be completely truthful and all of that. But and I read it in French very quickly, so I don't know if I got the meaning, but in all instances. But I think that he really was a very strong person because he was a very strong personality. I mean, a strong dancer, because he was able to really inject a unique personality and a very strong character into highly individualized interpretations of conventional roles, which made them different and made them new. And he really was a force. Whether you liked him or not, he was truly a force to be reckoned with. Don't you think? I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah. I love the man. I've seen and read his biography, and I've seen all kinds of film on him. I've seen him live, um, and unfortunately, the last time I'd seen him was when he was still sick, and he should have been off stage.
yeah.
He should not have been on stage that time. You need to know where you need to go.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, yeah, even though they're legends and all, I don't want to see you up there shaking around because I'm scared you're gonna fall or something, and it doesn't make it good for those ensemble members who are up there dancing with you, who are young and vibrant and really moving around, and you're trying to do the same things that they're doing, these more challenging things that you were able to do at one time, and you're still up there making me scared. So no, get off the stage when it's time. Just get off the stage. Leave when everything is up, not
Hard to
not
do.
fall down. Yeah.
Randy,
Yes, ma'am.
I hope you will write a book.
Yeah.
What strikes me, several things about what you, for one thing, it strikes me that you are still leading a life of joy because of the path that you've been on. That is a huge gift, You know, that is, what more could anyone ask in this lifetime? But your story
Yes.
of being inspired by what you saw and saying, you know, I want to do that. And the other thing that I kept hearing you say, as you talked about different parts of your, you know, different turning points,
Yes.
when people would say things, is you say yes, you say yes.
Yes.
And that you have, you know, you're a teacher, you know, as you were talking, I was wondering whether all of this has been a path to your being a teacher, that your real heart is a teacher. A dancer is a thing you use to teach, but
Mhm.
you're a teacher. But you know that you, how can you tell this story to kids, to teenagers who haven't yet found that path or who don't know? I mean, you talk about teaching manners to the kids in your class. It's a huge gift. Anyway, I really hope you'll write that book. I think it would be a very powerful book and continue your legacy as a teacher to more that you cannot actually see in the same room. Thank you so much for speaking today. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's very, very nice of you to say. And yes, I have such a passion for teaching. I mean, I honestly love it. When I'm in the room, I don't feel like it's me that where this stuff is coming out. It feels, it really feels like somebody else who is giving these corrections and understanding what movement is and how to get the kids to do what I want them to do. And it's all there, and it has to be in the moment. It's right there in the moment. You can ask me later on, what did you say to him, and what did you say? I wouldn't remember because I was in a spiritual mode. It just it, it's like it comes out that way. And one of the inspirations again is Harriet Ross. You know, having known her for so long and have seen her coach, and she's one of the greatest coaches in the world. I'll tell anybody that. Yeah, she also gets lost in teaching. So it is that, and then of course teaching is different than choreographing. Um, that's a whole nother story because you do have to tell a story with choreography, with teaching and training and getting the kids to do things technically correct. That's different. And then you start your then you can use them as a canvas. Yeah, and just have them do your work. Yes, ma'am.
Shoma,
Samurai.
I have a question. It's a perfect segue about storytelling, Randy. So one
Uh,
thing, I didn't know much about dance. I grew up in India and I didn't watch too much dance. I was head in the book. And
uh,
actually, the beginning time I began to like dance is when Barbara introduced me to your academy. I went to watch the children. That was really fun to watch them dance. And that
uh,
interest, so I watched them on YouTube. When I have the time, I make time in the middle of the night, I watch these because it's lovely to have them available online.
yeah,
I wanted to ask, because in the beginning you said you watched everything, you observed all, you said animals, you said all of it. So
yeah.
there's one company that I saw, it was called Sadler's Well. They
Uh,
did a very interesting thing. And then the other person I found that I'm just blown by, and it comes to your storytelling, a woman called Crystal Pite, Pite.
uh-huh.
She does
Yeah,
work on relevant issues. She did this marvelous thing on immigration or like the refugee. I think she got an
uh-huh.
award for it recently.
Yeah,
And then she does this entire series on nature. Her
uh-huh.
dance, her storytelling, as you put it,
Yeah,
is just humanity and humane. Is there
yeah,
some, because I don't have the bandwidth to go through all dance companies in the world. Is there one like
yeah.
that? Another one you would recommend so I can watch them online? Is there one? There must be people who tell, who choose, because you're choosing to tell a story if you're a choreographer. Somebody
Right.
with that kind of mindset who sees things move. I guess it's more who do meaning more than just movement, because I think that's what you do. Yours is more about meaning and not just
Yeah,
technical perfection in the movement. Are there people, are
yeah.
there companies, even Harriet, you could probably tell me. I watched the
Go
Utah
watch Ballet
company.
West. Go watch Ballet West.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Also, like one in Utah, I watch them. I watched them. I watched the choreographer, even their finance guy is really, I think it was a dancer. He speaks brilliantly in all their interviews. In any other company, somewhere else in the world, because it gives me a different perspective. Somewhere like in Japan, because they have dancers there, in some other country, because it'll give me a different perspective. Is there one?
Japan's ballet company is quite classical, so you really don't get to see things that are timely specifically. So that wouldn't be a good choice.
Okay.
But certainly Sadler Wells, which is not the Sadler Wells of decades ago.
Right.
It's now a very modern company, and you would see things of that nature.
I do.
Um, but I would say Houston Ballet,
Okay.
Pacific Northwest Ballet. Um,
Taking notes.
so that's fine.
Yeah. And Mara,
Your sound.
Thank you.
There we are. Cloudgate of Taiwan.
Yes,
Work.
yes, that is definitely a good choice.
And of course,
Yeah.
sure, you know, Ikram Khan.
I watch him. That's the easier one, but thank you. Yeah, I love his work.
Well, that show will get you through 2 nights. Then what?
Yeah. Just keep there's a lot of dance companies that are out there doing stuff, especially the contemporary work. The one in Amsterdam,
Dance
what is it?
theater?
Which one?
Dance theater? No, I'm
The one where the Hubbard Street uses the choreographers.
Oh,
in
you're
it.
thinking of Netherlands Ballet. Netherlands Contemporary. Netherlands
Yeah.
Contemporary is very much like Hubbard Street. Might as well watch Hubbard Street because the dance is so magnificent. There's a lot of people who love the expressionist choreography of Ohad Naharin. I'm not one of them, but
neither am I.
it certainly is for people who want to see expressionist work. It is certainly a good choice because the dancers are of very high quality.
Is he the chair guy? Is that the chair dancer?
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Oh, you
once spent
remember that.
90 minutes watching him do a ballet called The Flood, which had a tenor and a rat on the guy's head.
I saw that.
That just kept
I
going.
saw that one.
And unfortunately, we were the guests of the artistic director, so I couldn't leave. But of course, I had a question. And I said, do you travel with the rat? Or do you have to buy a new one in every city? She didn't know what to do. Oh, that was
They actually
awful.
left the rat because I remember this performance here at Civic
Auditorium.
Theater, at Civic Opera House.
Opera.
They left at Civic Opera House. They left the rat here in Chicago.
Well,
Yes,
we have
they did.
plenty of others. He wouldn't be lonely.
Right.
On my corner.
Oh, God, that was the worst 90 minutes I think I've ever spent as audience.
Yeah. And the lighting was so dark. I mean, there was nothing happening.
The singer's
unfortunately.
voice was lovely. And David did the translation. He was too embarrassed to translate it because I guess it was pretty coarse and pretty foul.
Yeah.
Which we got to miss out on.
Wow.
But the rat was really good. Its material just wasn't.
Yeah, I remember that rat crawling across the head. I do. I absolutely do. So, Well, this has really been wonderful, and I'm looking forward to meeting the two people on here that I have not met personally. That would be great. And yeah, these stories. We'll have to think about doing that book. Okay, have somebody write
I
it.
look forward to it. Thank you so much, Randy.
Thank
It's so nice
you.
to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you as well.
So good to
Okay,
see you. Thank you so much.
you as well.
Love
Thanks so
you.
much. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Barbara.